Hey, so what is this picture? Talk loudly. What is? Who is it?
Louder.
Ronnie on mountain.
Who is it? Is that Ronnie on the mountain? There he is. There's the mountain, and then there's Ronnie.
Ron and I were not friends, and we did not know each other, and I will not pretend to be otherwise. But I've talked and looked and read enough. I think I got a read on Ron by now. And the Hasher club he was in kind of gave me a lot of insight.
The next day, and he let me drive his Jeep. We were four-wheeling in his Jeep, and he just looked over at me and said, "Have you ever done this before?" I said, "No, so if I tip it, I'm sorry." And then a few weeks later, his soft side of him, he also helped my Girl Scout troop earn a rock climbing badge. He came to the rock climbing gym with my Girl Scout troop, and he helped them belay, and he related to them so well. Well, he was a big kid himself, so he got along with the girls. Or like they would come up and grab his hand and help me climb, and he would help them with the ropes and belaying with them and show them how different techniques of how to do things. So that was my fond memory of Ron. I will always miss him.
Chicago, and we get to this big hill. And way up at the top of the hill was this piece of metal, plastic, not really sure what it was far away, and all of a sudden, we're all going one way, and Bloody, takes off to the top of this hill to this big sheet of, hopefully it was plastic, but more than likely it was Bloody, so it was metal, and he bends it into like the shape of a sled, and he gets on it, and he slides down the hill. This is metal, and it's a rocky hill, so he had to do this like 3 or 4 times to actually get really anywhere down the hill, which was just hilarious. And we all were looking at this guy like, oh my goodness. He came back down and we were like, you'll fit in the Las Vegas High House Harriers. And ever since then, he was just one of a kind hasher.
So we drove all the way to Lansing, rode our bikes all the way to Lansing, Illinois, hopped back on the South Shore train, took the bikes with us, drove all the way back to Indiana on the train, and got in the car and went back to his house. I stayed the night there that night, and we actually built. We built a B-17 model that he bought me. God knows what I'm proud of today, but that's the fondest memory I have of the man, is he was there.
And just drinking beers and hanging out, he was the one that always got everybody going. And I want to thank Mr. Kirk and Mrs. Kirk for bringing him around, bringing him here for us. And I'm going to miss him. So.
Thank you.
Right, and everything I've known their father more than I've known everybody and stuff, so real quick, man, I thought I was going to say something. But Susan, we've been there for him when he's gotten hurt all the time, and Susan was even saying, when I get a text and saying, "Have you heard of Ronnie?" We didn't think that this was going to happen.
I was excited. It was the middle of winter, and I wasn't used to a Chicago winter. So Daryl and Ronnie and I, do you remember that ditch out in front of your house?
Oh yeah, deep.
We went out there and we were sliding around on that ditch in the ice, and it was below 0. We probably didn't even have hats and gloves or anything.
No way.
There. So I said to Daryl, I remember saying, "Daryl, I can feel something in my nose." And he said, "It's the hair in your nose, because when it gets really cold like this, you can feel the hair in your nose." And I'd never felt that before. But I stayed probably for, 3 weeks. I came out several times when I was a kid and spent several weeks with them. And I just wanted to mention my parents. They're both gone now, Ruth and Victor Hartford, but they loved you kids so much. My mother really loved you kids. So I just wanted to mention them. They've been gone for quite a few years now. But we wish we had known Ronnie. Katie never met Ronnie. I was lucky enough to see Ronnie. Was it last year, January?
Mm-hmm.
He was christened.
Yeah, the christening.
I was just lucky enough to get to see Ronnie that one last time, and I'm really glad that I did.
Eccentric people are my heroes, and he was one of my heroes. We were at Grandpa Ross's funeral, and some kids started to gather at the bottom of the mountain where the woods started, and there was a vine hanging off one of the trees. Well, next thing I know, Ronnie had went up in a tree and was swinging on this vine. I was standing there with one of my ex-brother-in-laws, Fred, and I looked at him and I said, "That looks like way too much fun. You got to be kidding me." I love spontaneous stuff like that. My wife could tell you some of the crazy things that I've done. I come across as probably kind of a stuffy person. I don't intend to, but I think I often do. And just at the whim of a moment, you know, I got to break out of this mold. Life's too short to be this stuffy 50-year-old person that I am right now. I'm going to do something really crazy. I love doing that in the military and really catching people off guard. At that moment, I looked at him and I said, "Man, heck with this. I'm going up there." And he's like, "You got to be nuts." And somewhere there's a picture of me and Ronnie hanging together in this vine. And I will forever treasure that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always looked up for me growing up, and even now he was never too busy for me. I would call him. He was donating blood a couple of times and he picked up the phone, or he'd tell me all the time, "I'm going into the library and they don't like for you to have cell phones in here," but you know, he still kept on. He still talked to me and walked in the library on the phone. And even, you know, he was just so fast-paced, packing in all those classes because he really wanted to get the degree, or he'd be out hiking or hashing. And he'd answer the phone, he'd be running, and I could hear him. And he'd be talking to me and talking. And we just talked about everything with the kids. He'd tell me about school, just anything, and I'm going to miss that. And I know Ronnie, he was notorious for breaking his phone. And it was so funny because on my phone, I was driving the whole house crazy because I could not get the pictures out of my phone. And I was just, how do I fix my phone? And so one day I just whipped it on the carpet and the pictures came back. And that's when I thought it was Ron. And I called him, I just ran to the phone. I said, "You won't believe it. I got my phone to work." Because he was the one I thought of. And so he touched so many people. He touched my life, and we're so blessed to have him. And I know he was taken from us, you know, much sooner than he should have. But, you know, in that short time that we had him, he really